If you are applying, you go through your local council, depending on where you live. There's one for each area. And there are kind of 3 main applications you make. Mainly 2, there's the in-year application and one the common entry point application. So Year 7, common application, or the 6th form, Year 12, common application. So these last 2 are common ones that all UK students take because they change schools at that point. But if you're going to the UK, you might find that you'll be applying for an in-year application. So if you go to the UK, you'll notice that they put students into year groups in a different way to Hong Kong. So in Hong Kong, it's from January to December, but in the UK, it's from September to August. So depending on where your child sits and what month their birthday is, they might find that they end up being kind of 1 year up or 1 year below, or even the same year, but it really depends. And also really have to look at the age group and when your birthday is. So what is an in-year application? Some scenarios of why you might be making an in-year application. So if you're moving to the UK during the middle of the school year, or if you're moving to the UK during the summer and your child is aiming to start school in the coming September. So you don't fit into that Year 7 or that Year 12 entry, you'll just be applying in the middle of the year or during the beginning of a year. What you do again, you go through the local authority council, and you can list up to 6 schools. So in some places, it's only 3 schools, and you can apply at any time. Usually you apply when you arrive, and they can put you into school that's up to maybe 4 weeks before you start, you can apply. And the things that they look at whether the school has any availability. Priority is also given by proximity. So do you live close to the school? Do you live, the closer you live, the better it is normally. So that catchment area could be very small. It could be like a few streets, or it could be much wider, looking at a few kilometers, and whether you have any siblings at the school. So if you have more than 1 child and you put 1 child into a state school first, the second child is more likely to get into that state school as well. Again, you can only list up to 6 schools in some places, and some places you can only list 3. So if you're moving to an area and you're applying to only oversubscribed popular schools, you'll find it very hard to actually get into those schools because they are oversubscribed. And you might find that you get put into a randomly allocated school because those are full. So what you might need to do is think about which school is available in the area that your child would be happy to go to as well, that isn't too far, because students in the UK are expected to commute or walk to school. So it has to be somewhere close that you can drop off your kid as well. Now, if you're applying for Year 7, this is a very common entry route. So those of you that will be going to the UK before your child reaches maybe Year 5 or Year 6 can apply through the common application for Year 7. Again, you go through your local authority and there's a common application procedure. And you can list up to 6 schools. Again, it depends on where you live. The applications open in September. So they open in September when your child is in Year 6 in the UK, and it's earlier for grammar schools. And the deadline is usually at the end of October or the beginning of November. So it's a very, very tight period of time. Selection criteria is, again, proximity to school, how close do you live, whether you have any siblings there already, and whether there are any spaces available. So you have to think of these very carefully. That's why if you are moving to the UK, you have to think about, will you make in time for this application procedure? If you apply after it's closed, you will find that your child will not be able to go to one of the top schools because they've already allocated spaces. But it doesn't mean that you repeat the year. Not as far as I'm aware of, that there's no kind of idea of repeating a year. You might find that you're repeating a year in some ways because you might have done P5 in Hong Kong and then you go to the UK and you're doing Year 5 again. That's the only example I can think of. Perhaps Mark can answer this one.
Yeah, it's very unusual. I would say that something I didn't mention was that the typical grammar school test is age-weighted. So it depends on which month of the year you're born in. It does give you extra credit if you're that little bit younger, to try to balance up any unfairness to people who are less developed because they happen to be born in August. Also in the UK, there is a growing trend to allow parents who have what they call summer-born children, so maybe June, July, August, actually to drop back a year and start school in a different year, if they feel that would be the right thing to do for their children. So that's currently being enshrined in law in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are one or two. Yes, there's a school in Bruton in Somerset. So there's an organisation called the State Boarding Schools Association, which I'm sure Willow's aware of. So they would be a good website to have a look at, which would list all the schools that offer boarding. So there are quite a number.